Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Robo Celestial here with a new video for you. Welcome to What If Deku Was a Dragon Slayer. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. The ability to transfer quirks from person to person is extremely rare. In fact, All For One was the only individual in written history with that ability. It is likely that the process takes a toll on the body. Even one as powerful as this Acknowledger would have trouble using it full force like his has been. Right out of the gate, Nezu nodded in agreement. A good point, but we must use this time to prepare. After all, we know that this villain will not stop until everything is gone. With those chilling words from the Animan, the War Council started to lay out their plan. After the meeting, Lucy and Urza stood in the hallway. The two women had worried looks on their faces. Lucy was the first to speak. Do you think the students are ready for this? Can anyone be truly ready for something like this? The plan is set to take place in 2 months. I guess we will have to prepare them all as best we can during that time. That is our only choice. How are the 3 Dragon Slayers doing? According to Natsu and Laxus, they are improving every day. In fact, Natsu said it is scary how quick the 3 are gaining power. That is good to hear. All 3 of them may only be 16, but the fate of this world and all other worlds rests on their shoulders. Do you really think this plan is going to work? I do. This group we have been training is strong. I have a feeling that they will make all the difference. Suddenly a male voice spoke from down the hall. They may be facing more trouble than they know. The 2 ladies looked in the direction of the voice, and Zareth walked up to them. Elsewhere, in a dark and damp cave in America, Acknowledger sat breathing heavily. It seems that I overestimated the power of All For One. This quirk has taken a toll on my body. But that does not mean that the destruction has to end. The destroyer's eyes glowed a sinister shade of red. Awaken my soldiers. It is time for this world to fall. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you want to learn how to make videos like this one? Do you learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered, and with our link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So what are you waiting for? Click the link now and get 14 days worth of classes free. Link in description below. Deep in the bowels of Tartarus prison, the hero killer Stain sat in his cell. Altogether, a terrible place to end up, but the hero killer had more than earned his place here. The cameras were all focused on the dark-haired villain. 1 minute Stain sat calmly in his cell. The next, the villain began to shake violently. Stain's skin turned pitch black and his irises disappeared from his eyes. Both of the villain's orbs glowed with a white energy. Before this strange force took over the villain, he replied in a panic, "Why, master, have I not been loyal to you?" The voice of Acknowledger spoke into Stain's mind. "Did you think you were special to me? Stain, how sad. You were only the first successful experiment. What did you do to me, master? Did you think that the power I gave you came without a price? I empowered you so you could deliver your brand of justice onto the world. Now you will pay me back. And so will all of those who used my power to strengthen themselves." Stain's body expanded. His hands became claws. His mouth and jaws elongated into something inhuman. The villain ripped the straitjacket that bound him to pieces. Standing where the hero killer once did was a dragon-human hybrid. The machine guns engaged. The powerful firearms unloaded many rounds onto the creature. Each bullet bounced off the creature's scales harmlessly. The stained dragon then broke free from his cell and went on a rampage through the facility. It attacked anyone that it came upon with a mindless fury. And he was not the only one. Many of the imprisoned underwent the same transformation. The guards all freaked out. None of them knew what to do. So many prisoners were breaking out. It had never crossed any of their minds that any villains would be able to break out. Before they knew it, the whole prison was in chaos. The dragon's soldiers destroyed everything and everyone in sight. The hundreds of floors above them collapsed from all of the destruction. Tartarus caved in on itself. The ruins burned with a fierce balk and white fire. But then rubble began to shift. The mini dragons exploded from the ruins, their eyes still hungry for destruction. Elsewhere, more criminals and lowlifes transformed into the dark mini-dragons. Each one then set out on a rampage. Many heroes fought back against the violence of the dragon-infused villains. The dragon's strength was not the problem. The problem was their numbers. Back in the Fairy Tale Guild Hall, in fairy space, Urza, Mavis, and Zareth were in a meeting. Zareth held up a small glass orb to the other 3 heroes. Urza took the small glass object in her armored hands. The tall woman then spoke in a worried tone. This is definitely a magic La Crema. It is much smaller than any I have ever seen, Zareth then added. But you will notice that the power coming off it is both malevolent and powerful. It is true. The magic feels just like Ichnologus. It is, from what we have determined. These tiny crystals work just like the dragon La Crema we made. Mavis got a thoughtful look on her face, meaning that if a person was to implant this crystal, they would gain Dragon Slayer powers. Correct. But since the dragon power inside comes from Ichnologia, it would not be bound by element. All Might came bounding up the hallway. You all need to come see this. The group of wizards followed the #1 hero to the conference room. The viewing scenes all showed the dragon soldiers rampaging around Japan. They then saw that there were a few of these attacks happening around the world. That explains the La Crema. It does. All Might got a confused look on his face. What are you three talking about? Zareth then explains how his time working the underworld of the Hero Society had led him to the Acknowledge Power Dragon La Crema. All Might took all of this information and before speaking. So you believe these magic crystals are what created these creatures? I do. While Acknowledge never used a tactic like this in our world, there is a first time for everything. Mavis chimed in. If I venture a guess, the ancient Slayer probably realized after his long battle to destroy Earthland that he would need help. It is likely that he got the idea for these dragon soldiers from watching All for One's Namu program for so many decades. Zareth agreed. My investigation into the orbs found that they had not spread very far outside of Japan. That is why there are only pockets of dragon soldiers popping up all over the world. All Might nodded his head in agreement. I guess we should be grateful for that. But these creatures do mean that our timetable has changed. I agree. I hope the children are ready. Urza's normally confident glare was replaced with a worried expression. They will have to be. All Might, you and Zareth go get the members of Class A and B. I will go retrieve Midoriya, Marvel, and Kaminari. The four heroes took off for different parts of the guild hall. As they walked, they were each gripped by a sense of dread. None of them liked the idea of sending such young heroes into a situation like this. If it had been any other time, it would not have happened, but each of them knew they had no choice. They all prayed that these young people had grown enough over the last 10 months. Urza walked down the narrow hallways of the Fairy Tale Guild. Her normal energetic steps were less so today. In a training field behind the guild hall, the three Dragon Slayer youths were all lying on the ground exhausted. Both Laxus Dreyer and Natsu Dragneel stood over the youths with big grins on their faces. That was awesome, you three. You have finally mastered Dragon Force, and you have made great strides in unlocking the final stage of Dragon Slayer magic. Laxus nodded. True, you three have earned some rest. The three youths did not get up. They all just went to sleep on the ground where they laid. Urza walked onto the training field. The clanging of her armor announced her arrival. She saw the Dragon Slayer teens lying unconscious on the ground. The serious woman looked at the teens, and then at Laxus and Natsu. The crimson-haired mage took a deep breath before she spoke. I see their training has been rigorous. How did it go? Both men started to sweat under Urza's menacing gaze. Natsu finally answered in a worried tone after several minutes. It went very well. Urza, they have mastered Dragon Force. What about the final stage? Did they get that? Laxus answered in a serious tone. The potential is there. But no, Urza bit her lip in frustration. That is not good news. But it is not unexpected. That power can only be obtained under critical conditions, such as fighting for your life. It isn't ideal, but it is what we are dealing with. Okay. Well, that is not what I came to tell you too. Laxus and Natsu knew Urza well enough to know that she was about to drop a bombshell. What is going on, Urza? The Night Mage explained the situation in Japan. These events have moved up our timetable. Urza turned to her pink-haired comrade, Natsu. Take these three upstairs so they may rest. Right away, Urza. Natsu used his fire manipulation powers to create two giant dragon claw-like hands. The flaming appendages sprouted from his back. The dragon mage grabbed Kaminari and Midoriya with the fire hands. The flaming claws easily lifted one boy in each claw. Natsu then gently picked up Wendy in his two natural arms. The energetic man then ran off into the guild hall as Urza instructed. Laxus got a grime look on his face. When does the attack start? I still need to meet with Master Makarov and Mavis. But these events mean we must move our plan up. I believe we now only have 2 days to prepare. Not much time, fortunately. These kids have been working their butts off these past months. I believe they are ready. They will have to be Laxus. What about Gadgil and Gray? Have they returned? Laxus nodded. Gray has been here for a while. Really? I haven't seen him. He returned about 6 months ago. You have been really busy with the War Council and planning. At the same time, he has been working with several of the students who gained Maker Magic. Good to hear. And Gadgil, last I heard he arrived just today. Good. The plan would not work without him. Laxus nodded in agreement. Urza then looked at her blonde comrade. I will consult with the masters. But I want you to tell the others to prepare for the final battle to start in 2 days. You got it. Laxus coolly walked off and entered the guild hall to carry out Urza's instructions. Urza stood in on the training field by herself. She looked up at the false sky of fairy space. Many thoughts swirled through her mind. After several minutes, the worried woman spoke aloud in a fearsome tone. The plan will succeed this time. It has to. I will not watch another world die because of this monster's ravenous appetite for destruction. Urza raised her already powerful tone to an even higher volume. This time Fairy Tail will succeed. Acknowledge it will not destroy another world. 2 days passed in fairy space. The elder wizards ordered Class 1A and 1B to get some rest. That way they would all be fit and ready to face the epic battle that was ahead of them. On the appointed day, both classes gathered in the main room of the guild hall. The emotions of the group was a mixture of excitement and worry. None of them had been involved in a battle like this, however. They had spent every moment of the past 10 months training until they dropped. They all figured they were about as ready as they were ever going to get. Standing around the edge of the room were the fairytale wizards that had spent the last 10 months training the students in magic. Included in the group was Jeliel, Grey Fullbuster, Lucy Hartfilia, Mura Jane Strauss, Mavis Vermilion, Laxus Drayar, Natsu Dragneel, Zaref, and few other assorted individuals. Standing before the group was their teacher Urza Scarlet, a determined look on her face. Before I tell you all the plan of attack, I just wanted to say that I am proud of each of you, students. You have all gone above and beyond the call of duty, even though you have not gotten a hero license yet. Know that each and every one of you has the heart of a true hero. The encouraging words from Urza energized the teens. All of their worries evaporated. Now each and every student was determined to end the battle that Fairytale and the Earthland Wizards had started against Acknowledge. They would not let this monster destroy their world or any other. Urza looked out at the gathered students. She was moved by the determination she saw on her students' faces. Even as her heart swelled with pride, the stoic wizard kept her face stern and imposing. The red-haired wizard spoke in a firm tone. I am glad to see that you all have not lost your fighting spirit. Now, let's move on to the battle plan. All Might is already out coordinating our counterattack. He had the other heroes, who are still standing, evacuating the civilians from the final battle site. They will be done shortly. That gives me enough time to tell all of you how this fight will go down. Urza equipped a remote into her hand. She pressed the button on the device and a magic screen appeared behind her. The screen showed a projection of a large area beneath a volcano. This will be the final battle site. We have chosen it because it is far enough away from large cities that we can fight without worrying about destroying our surroundings. This is also the perfect area to gather the enemy forces together. Mina Ashido raised her hand. Ma'am, what do you mean enemy forces? I thought we would face off against Acknowledge himself. That was the plan. But life is subject to change. Urza pressed another button on her controller. The image on the screen shifted to several images of the dragon soldiers. These creatures appeared a few days ago. Local heroes have managed to keep them contained, but they have caused a lot of damage in Japan. Fortunately, casualties have been minimal, thanks in no small part to many brave pro-heroes. These creatures were created by Acknowledge using these. Urza held up the small black La Crema before the group. Everyone, except the Dragon Slayer youths, were confused. The red-haired educator explained that they believe Acknowledge had been selling the magic crystals on the black market as a power enhancer. The dark magic inside the crystal would empower the user, but they would also be contaminated by Acknowledge's evil. Urza then stated that Acknowledge used his own power to cause the users of the magic crystals to transform into the dragon soldiers. Momo then raised her hand. Sensei, do these soldiers each possess the strength of a dragon slayer? A good question, Mrs. Yaoyorozu. We do not think so. From reports in the field, these minions are strong and durable, but not at the level of a true dragon slayer. These facts allowed the group to relax a little. None of them were looking forward to having to fight an army of crazed dragon monsters that were as strong as Midoriya or Kaminari. With that new information out of the way, let me explain our plan of attack. Urza pulled up a map of the battle site. We are going to divide everyone here into 3 groups. The first group will act as the primary attack unit. This group will take their position on the side of the mountain. That way they will be attacking downhill once the battle begins. Master Mavis will teleport the other 2 groups into position on the field to give us maximum advantage. The student all thought the plan sounded good. However, a few of the more strategic-minded students wondered what part the heroes were going to play. While some individuals thought the plan would leave them exposed, they had no way of knowing how many of the dragon creatures there were. Urza could see that several of her students questioned the plan. The firm-eyed warrior continued. As for the pro-heroes, All Might has been organizing them for 2 days to aid in this plan. Also, many of you will probably be wondering how we plan to bring Acknowledge and his army to the battlefield. Firstly, Acknowledge loves to crush the strong. The drive to face strong opponents is hardwired into all dragon slayers. The gathered heroes and wizards at the battle site should be more than enough to draw him there. Secondly, if the lure of battle is not enough, then we plan on using this. Urza pressed the remote again, and a large La Crema emerged from the floor beside her. The giant crystal glowed a blinding white. All of the students were shocked by this action. They all knew what this crystal was. The fairy heart. This object had given most of them their magic powers. The thought of using such a valuable artifact as bait seemed like overkill. Urza replied to the group before anyone could speak. Many of you are probably thinking that this move is overkill. The students now wondered if their teacher could read minds. The fact that her reply was so close to their thoughts made all of them uncomfortable, especially a certain grape-headed teen. Urza continued, We'll only use the fairy heart if plan does not work. As I have taught you students, it is always best to have a backup plan. Midoriya chimed in at this point. What is the first plan, Master? Plan 1, Midoriya. We'll place you, Kaminari, Marvel, Natsu, and Gadgil in direct danger. Your Dragon Slayer energies will be like a magnet to Acknowledge. The beast harbors a strong disgust for both dragons and the Slayer made to fight them. Since you all are very strong, it should lure him to the battlefield. Midoriya did not like the idea of being used as bait, but he had faith in Urza and the other masters. They had trained him and protected him until this point. He had no problem putting his life in their hands, especially if it meant that this world was not destroyed. The green teen nodded at the warrior mage. The boy's face glowed with an aura of confidence. Urza smiled at the boy. She then turned to the rest of the crowd. With that, I will now divide all of you into the attack teams. After a while, the students of 1A and 1B were teamed up with one or two of the fairy tale wizards. The groups were then led to the field behind the guild hall. In the field, Mavis Vermilion stood before a strange-looking device. The tiny wizard was casting a spell over the giant metal arch. Several white magic circles appeared around the base of the device. The machine activated and absorbed the circles. The device went on to make several interesting noises. These included several barnyard animals. All right, everyone, this is our portal generator. This will allow me to deploy all of you and the heroes in real space to where I need them during the battle. So prepare yourselves. Midoriya leaned over and asked Wendy a question. Is it a good idea to go through that thing? It sounds like a kid's toy, and that woman seems a little crazy. Watch your tone, Midoriya. Master Mavis may be a little off, but she is a brilliant strategist. They call her the fairy tactician. Midoriya got a weird look on his face after hearing that. Wendy took a deep breath and replied, Just know that our masters trust her with their lives, and it was thanks to her magical knowledge that our friends got their powers back. You're right, Wendy. Besides, it is too late to back out now. The portal generator started to emit energy that looked like an Arctic aurora. The energy started to swirl within the structure and formed a portal. All right, Dragon Slayer unit. You are up first. This unit consisted of Midoriya, Wendy, Kaminari, Gadgil, and Natsu. The group stepped through the portal. After passing through the kaleidoscope-like passage, the 5-man unit walked onto the chosen battlefield. They stood on a flat plain at the foot of the mountain. All seemed calm in the area, but the group knew that it would not stay that way. Elsewhere, Acknowledge sat in his cave. His body nearly recovered from the strain of using all for one in such an over-the-top way. But the draconian villain also felt a strange uneasiness flowing through his body. Acknowledge could only describe the feeling as indigestion. The villain figured his body was still adjusting to all of the powers he had stolen over the past weeks. Of course, feeling a little under the weather would not stop the ancient slayer from completing his goal of world destruction. These thoughts all swirled through the creature's mind when his dragon senses started tingling. Acknowledge could sense a strong dragon energy. The powerful man's ability to sense the world had gotten so much stronger in the past weeks, due mainly to the influx of sensory quirks. Acknowledge could tell that the signal he was getting was from 5 powerful dragon slayers. He knew that 2 of them must be the fire and iron dragons from Fairy Tail. The ancient man knew he had killed the other dragons back in Earthland. That only left the lighting dragon, but he was not a true dragon slayer. No matter how powerful he was, one of the signals reminded Acknowledge of the Sky Dragon Slayer. But he thought she had died. A sinister smile crept across Acknowledge's face. The man then spoke in an equally sinister tone. It doesn't matter who these dragons are. They will fall to my power as all other dragons have. The giant man stood up and shouted at the top of his lungs. The world has no need of dragons. All must be destroyed. The Lord of Destruction crouched down and leapt into the air. He then proceeds to crash through the roof of the cave he was in and the earth above. Acknowledge emerged into the air and transformed into his dragon form. The monster activated the quirk of Kirigiri, Rapgate, which the Slayer stole after he killed All for One. Back on the battlefield, the Dragon Slayers were all waiting for their opponent to appear. This caused Gadgil and Natsu to become very impatient. Suddenly, several rap gates opened up on the battlefield. The army of dragon soldiers came storming out of the Stygian gates. The group probably numbered in the thousands. The black-scaled beings encircled the dragon slayers. Then a giant gate opened in the sky above the battlefield. The dragonic form of Acknowledge appeared through the shadowy mass. Well, it is just as I thought. The two surviving dragon slayers from Earthland. The villain then saw the three teen slayers. And what do we have here? Two dragons I don't know and the sky dragon slayer from Earthland. I thought you died. Oh well. I can fix that. Acknowledge's body started to glow with a whitish-blue energy. The creature then opened his mouth up wide and released a beam of pure magical power. This move would have made Gyarados flee in panic, as the force beam plowed through the air. The Dragon Slayer group below kept their cool. Each one of them gave the others a nod of assurance that they all knew what to do. The group then jumped to the sides to avoid getting hit by the massive attack. The dragon wizards got out of the way as the beam hit. Unfortunately, many of the dragon soldiers that had been surrounding the dragon slayers had been caught in the blast. The poor foot soldiers were reduced to ash by the powerful blast, as the dust and smoke from the blast cleared. Midoriya found himself all alone in a sea of dragon soldiers. The green teen lit his fist on fire and started attacking the soldiers around him with reckless abandon. The teen hit each soldier square on with maximum force. The problem was the soldiers were more durable than he thought. It took 10 to 20 of his fire fists to take down one soldier. Midoriya knew they were going to need help soon. Back in fairy space, Mavis was watching the battle unfold on a magic viewing screen. So far the battle was occurring as she had planned. The short woman knew it was time to activate Stage 2. Mavis waved her hand in the air and brought up a smaller view screen. The screen had All Might's face on it. All Might, is your squad ready to engage? The giant man responded in an enthusiastic tone. We are ready and waiting. You just give the word. Is that special plan we discussed in the meeting ready to go also? It is. We will need 2 portals for this strike to be effective though. I am aware of that. All Might, this is my plan after all. Mavis waved her hand toward the portal device and then spoke to the small view screen. All Might proceed through the portals. You are a go. Give that scaly bastard hell. Back on the battlefield, a giant portal opened up on the high part of the mountain. All Might and a large group of pro heroes emerged from the rainbow-colored entrance. The group spread out along the mountain. All Might then shouted at the top of his lungs, loud enough for all the enemies below to hear. You know what we came here for, heroes. Now let's end this creature's threat. Let's all go beyond, plus ultra. With those words, all of the heroes gave a loud shout and charged downhill to meet the mass of dragon soldiers. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy, in addition to providing you with safe passage through the web. You can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 streaming services to watch your favorite anime? Well, with NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming service with just a press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years divided by $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Above the battlefield, Acknowledge saw the mass of approaching heroes. The monster thought to himself, how stupid these humans are. Do they not realize I can steal all of their quirks? They will just make me stronger. Acknowledge activated All for One within himself. The villain's body became cloaked in a dark energy, but just as the energy appeared, it dissipated. The villains tried again, but this time the energy did not activate. Acknowledge spoke in a quizzical tone. What is going on? All for One won't activate. The villain wondered if his body had still not recovered from overusing the power. The creature did not think this was the answer. This felt like something was blocking his power. Acknowledge scanned the battlefield. On a ridge, high up the mountain, there was a group of heroes. This group included the normal hero Manual, the underground hero Eraserhead, and a hero who was using a barrier power to protect the two. Eraserhead stood looking up at Acknowledge while Manual hydrated his eyes. So that is it, if I remember correctly. That hero has the ability to stop quirks from activating. Well, that is easy enough to stop. Acknowledge opened his mouth to release another powerful blast. The energy was about to eject from his maw when a powerful blow hit the Dragon King's lower jaw. This caused Acknowledge's mouth to close suddenly and sent the creature flying toward the ground. The creature managed to pull out of the dive at the last moment. Standing a short ways away was All Might. With his fist raised, the powerful hero then spoke in a loud and affirmative tone. Thought you could get rid of Aizawa and the others to get your powers back? Monster, well, it is not going to be that easy. To get to them, you will have to get through me first. Suddenly Midoriya and the other dragon slayers appeared by the number one hero's side. He is not the only one. Your reign of terror ends today, acknowledge Kaminari. Wendy, Natsu, and Gajil all agreed. You will fall just like everyone else who has stood in my way. Now prepare to die. The three dragon teens knew it was time to go all out. The three teens summoned forth their full power, their teeth elongated into fangs. Their skin became scaly, and their magical power became visible to the naked eye. This was the form known as Dragon Force. Midoriya added to his power by summoning forth his enhanced elemental energies. Midoriya called forth his flames of the righteous, his fire turning a deep silver and growing in heat and ferocity. Kaminari remarked at seeing his friend's power boost by saying, "You are not the only one with a new power." Kaminari's lighting went from yellow to deep crimson red. "I call this my awesome lighting." Wendy, Natsu, and Gajil all took on their Dragon Force forms as well. Wendy then cast a spell. Cold Sky Equip, Wind Chariot, and 5 powerful rings made of circulating wind formed around her teammates and All Might. All of them then flew into the sky to fight Acknowledge. Back in fairy space, Mavis saw that things were going well on the battlefield. The hero squad was dealing with the dragon soldiers. All Might and the dragon slayers had taken to the sky to face off against Acknowledge. All according to her plan. The green-eyed woman activated the portal device again, and 2 portals opened in the yard. Okay everyone, you know the plan. Classes NB split up and go through the portals. Finish off all of the dragon soldiers quickly, so we can focus on Acknowledge. Urza turned to her students and gave a firm command. You heard the master. Everyone, forward. Fight with everything you have. On the battlefield, the 2 portals opened and the members of 1A and 1B charged onto the battlefield. They were accompanied by the remaining fairy tale wizards. Urza and her students joined the heroes in battle against the dragon soldiers. The 2 forces combined and went to work. The soldiers were tough, but against such a powerful force, they were no match. But it still took some time to finish them off. In the sky, All Might, Midoriya and the others waged a fierce battle against Acknowledge. All Might used his speed and power to powerful punches against the villain. Each blow had the power to knock over a building. Midoriya and the dragon slayers flew around and tried to bombard the creature with dragon roar attacks, but Acknowledge just ate their attacks. After a heated exchange, the group backed off and came up with a new plan of attack. Guys, I think we are going to have to execute the final part of the plan. Natsu replied in an energetic tone. You're right, Midoriya. We have no choice. If we wait any longer, we won't have enough magical power to perform that move. Gajil complained. While it may be a good idea, that monster is not going to stand there while we prepare the attack. All Might broke in. How much time do you need? Natsu answered the blonde man. About 5 minutes. I will give you that. Get started. With those 2 short sentences, All Might flew off toward Acknowledge. As the number 1 hero flew through the air, he summoned all of the power that One for All had into his right fist. The hero then gave a loud and dramatic shout. Take this, you monster. United States of Smash. All Might hit the black dragon with his most powerful attack. The blow caused a hurricane of force to explode through the sky. Wendy saw what All Might was going to do at the last minute. The clever girl created a wind force field to protect the group from the force of All Might's attack. You heard All Might. Let's get started. The group got into a circle. Each one of them started to chant a spell in unison. Each one began to glow in their element colors. Gajil in gray, Natsu in fiery red, Midoriya in silver, and Kaminari in crimson red. The 3 then completed their chant by saying in unison, Dragon Slayer Ultimate Magic Acknowledges N. All Might's attack sent Acknowledge plummeting into the ground. The powerful Dragon Slayer's body was battered and bruised. That was impressive, All Might. You are definitely the most powerful hero in this world. But even you could not finish me. All I have to do is absorb some magic and I will be good as new. I think not, Beast. Your time ends today. Suddenly the 5 dragon slayers appeared around Acknowledge. The 5 then placed their hands in front of them and a giant magic circle appeared on the ground beneath Acknowledge. Chains of magic energy emerged from the circle and wrapped themselves around the destroyer. There would be no escape from this spell. You dragon slayers are short of memory. Don't you remember that I have no magical alignment? The creature then opened his mouth and began to consume the magic from the spell. We didn't forget Acknowledge. We were just prepared for it. What is that supposed to mean? Suddenly a feeling of nausea overcame the ancient warrior. It felt like his stomach was on fire. What did you do to me? Wendy displayed a bracelet on her wrist. She then spoke up in a firm tone. The masters knew that you would just consume any spell we threw at you, and they had no real way to combat that until you distributed your energies in those dragon soldier crystals. Zaref got a hold of some and was able to reverse engineer a type of magic that you couldn't consume easily. He then placed it in these wristbands. That way we could release it when we were ready for our final attack. Midoriya and the others nodded in agreement. The green team then said, "Let's do this, guys." Each one of the wizards took a stance and a magic circle of white energy appeared on the ground. Acknowledge knew what this spell was. The beast could not hide the worry in his voice when he spoke. "It can't be. There is no way you could use that spell." A bright white light enveloped the group as they chanted in unison. Fairy Law. Acknowledge was consumed by the blinding light of the spell. But even though he was battered, he refused to be beaten. The dragon started to glow with a sinister black and purple energy. This energy fought against the light of Fairy Law. A short distance away, Urza, the UA students, and the heroes had defeated all of the dragon soldiers. The scaly creatures all laid out unconscious or immobilized on the ground. The group starred as Acknowledge's darkness fought against the light of the dragon slayer's spell. Momo was the first to speak. "Master Scarlet, is that supposed to be happening?" "No. The light of Fairy Law infused with Dragon Slayer magic should have destroyed the beast instantly. So what is happening? My guess would be that since Acknowledge cannot use the quirks inside of him, he is using them to power this dark energy. Even the 5 of them may not have enough power to defeat Acknowledge now." Uraraka spoke up then. "What about a unison raid?" "What do you mean, girl?" "All of the 1A and 1B students, along with the other wizards here, link our magic together with the 5 Dragon Slayer. Do you think that could work?" "It would be dangerous. And a unison raid between so many people has never been done before. And so much magical energy could destroy everyone connected to it. It is a crazy idea. But if we don't try, then Acknowledge will kill us all for sure." Urza opened her mind to all of her allies. "Everyone, focus your minds and hearts toward the Dragon Slayers. Remember, magic is based on emotion. Have your hearts connect to them and your powers should link up with those instructions." Everyone, even the heroes, all focused their minds on the Dragon Slayers. The students and the wizards began to glow in the same white light as the Dragon Slayers. "Good. Now give them all your power. Hold nothing back." The group did as instructed. They all forced every bit of power they had toward the combat zone. The Dragon Slayer were doing everything they could to hold the Fairy Law spell. But the darkness of Acknowledge was pushing them back. Suddenly each of the Dragon Slayers felt a burst of energy, as if their magic had been multiplied. The 5 felt as if each and every one of their friends and allies was standing beside them. This feeling renewed their desire to defeat the evil that stood before them. The Dragon Slayers took this new power and poured it into the spell. The light of the spell grew stronger. The light grew so bright that even the sun was no match for its brilliance. Acknowledge struggled mightily, but even his darkness was no match for this light. The creature had lived for millennia and destroyed a whole reality, but this was his last moment. As the spell enveloped him, his last thought was, "Destruction will be mine." The light burned through his very existence. It erased every cell and fiber of the creatures until there was nothing left. All of the wizards passed out after this attack. The heroes set to work with the cleanup. A few days later, Midoriya was lying asleep in a hospital bed. Suddenly the green teen woke up with a start. "What is going on? Where am I?" "You're awake. That is good to see. We were all getting a little worried about you, Midoriya." As the fog of sleep cleared from the green teen's eyes, he saw that Urza was sitting at the end of his bed. Midoriya then let out a series of questions in his rambling style. "Master, what happened? Did we defeat Acknowledge? What is this place? How did I get here?" Urza got up from her chair and punched Midoriya in the gut to make him shut up. "Calm down, Midoriya. You have been asleep for 3 days. It is not good for you to get so panicked when you first get up," Midoriya thought to himself. It probably isn't helpful to get punched in the gut either. Of course he didn't say that out loud for fear of getting punched again. "As I was saying, you have been out for 3 days. All of us were brought to this hospital for observation. The others and myself woke up 2 days ago, after they were cleared by the doctors. They have been helping with the cleanup in the cities. Those dragon soldiers caused a lot of damage during the weeks they were active." Midoriya was glad to hear that they had won the fight. If he never saw a monster like Acknowledge again, it would be too soon. Urza continued, "As I said, you and the other dragon slayers have been out for 3 days. The doctors were getting worried, but I told them that you had channeled a large amount of magic through your bodies. It would take time for your systems to heal from that. I am glad to see I was right. Are Wendy and Kaminari still here?" "Yes, they are." Urza walked over to the door and slid it open. "They have been waiting for you to wake up." Kaminari and Wendy walked in and saw that their friend was awake and okay. Kaminari gave him a thumbs up. Wendy ran over and wrapped the green-haired boy in a fierce bear hug. Urza left the room and let the friends catch up. A few weeks later, the fairy tale wizards and the UA students of 1A and 1B gathered on the battlefield where they had fought Acknowledge. Mavis Vermilion and Makarov Dreyer stood in front of the assembled group. Makarov was the first to speak. "My children, I am glad to see that you could all gather here on this glorious day. We have finally put an end to the menace to all life that was Acknowledge, and it is all thanks to you. Mavis picked up from Marikov. We wanted you all to be here for this event. You have earned it. Both Mavis and Makarov stood apart and placed their hands before them. A magic circle appeared before them and they chanted in unison. Return to this plane once again. O home of the fairies, so you may once again be a gathering place for our family. Suddenly, the Fairy Tale Guild Hall appeared before the group. Now that Acknowledge is gone, it is time that we focus on the future of Fairy Tale. Mavis waved her hand and the sign on the guild hall changed to read Fairy Tale Hero Agency. Even though you all have proven yourselves to be great heroes, you must still pass your final 2 years of UA. Once you do that, know that there will be a spot available to each of you as part of the Fairy Tale Agency. The group of students broke out in a round of cheers. Every one of them agreed to this. They said they would work even harder at their students and graduate with honors. They would then return to the place as true heroes. Mavis and Makarov nodded in approval. I am glad to hear that. The elder wizard then waved his hand and the front door opened. Let this day mark the new beginning of Fairy Tale and the world of heroes.